The results section of a manuscript is the crux, because that is where you present your real data. It is the data that you have generated from your own research, because in the earlier sections you only build on the previous research. Therefore, the results section is the most original section of your paper, and your results section should be in consensus, should be in alignment with your research problem and research questions. Stick to the journal guidelines when reporting, because reporting of the results section vary from design to design. Qualitative, quantitative and mixed methods paradigms have different styles of reporting. So know your style of reporting, because they are different ends of the spectrum. They are entirely different packages. So the most important thing you need to do is to know your design thoroughly and write your results accordingly. And it is always better to have some models of where people have applied your design. Look at those results section and familiarize yourself on how to report. You can also look for APA reporting guidelines when writing the results section. But the important tip is to check out for studies that are very similar to yours. So arrange your results chronologically based on the order of your research questions. Let's say you have 4 research questions. So present your results thematically based on those 4 research questions. There are also some important pointers you need to remember when reporting the results section. Start your paragraph with descriptive information. Don't start it with a table or a figure. Then restate your research questions and your hypothesis, because that will help you to refocus and present your results accordingly. And from the reader's perspective also, it helps them to easily understand your results. So restate them, your research questions and your hypothesis. Tabulate your results initially and then present the overall trends in figures. Show the data in your results section, but do not interpret your data at this stage, because you will do that in the discussion section. Avoid redundancy, because there is every chance to present repetitive data. Sometimes you tend to repeat what is in the table again in the figures. So avoid redundancy. Use the representative data and not repetitive data. So don't try to be descriptive and again repeat, because sometimes, as I said, you tend to unintentionally repeat. So you double check there is no repetition, that there is no repetition in this section, and give suitable titles to your graphs and figures, and make sure your dependent variables are in x-axis and your independent variables are in y-axis. Just check out some other figures in the respective journals that you are going to publish, how they have mentioned it. So you have to give importance to such subtle nuances, especially when reporting the results. So explain the table numbers in parentheses. Don't say according to the table. The information is presented in table 1. So present what the information is descriptively. Just say table, see table 1. So mention table 1. So a table 2 or whatever. So and use the past tense when you report this section, because you are only reporting the results of a study that has already been completed. So use the past tense. Eventually check out if you have justified the claims that you have made earlier in your study. So your results will justify the claims that you have made earlier. So these are some of the important principles you need to bear in mind when reporting your results. I remember receiving a trenchant review to one of my papers, and one of the reviewers had made a special mention to some specific problems in my results section. In my results section in that paper, I have carried out a t-test, and I have explained the rationale of the t-test, and I have also explained the various steps associated with carrying out the t-test, and I have also explained why the t-test is so appropriate and how it falls in line with the context of my study. He commented that there is more focus on the statistical tool than the results. So that takes the focus away to the statistical tool. So I got his point. So you have to make sure that you don't over describe the statistical tools you used. Just mention the tool that you have used and the rationale behind it. So keep it simple and keep it crisp. So whatever we have discussed in this results section will evaporate if you don't put it into action right away. So let me show you some practical examples pertaining to the results section. Take a look at this worksheet. This is one of my papers. I'm just showing you only the results section. Comparative analysis of blended and online language immersion program. This is the topic. See, the first thing that you need to do in your results section is you should start your results section with descriptive information. You shouldn't start off with a figure or a table. See, look at this example. When the samples of both groups were tested using descriptive statistics and paired sample t-test, the performance of the two examples were different in verbal and non-verbal skills. Verbal and non-verbal skills were analyzed separately. So just give a brief description about your results section to start with. Just a brief description. Secondly, go and restate your research questions and your hypothesis. You would have already mentioned your research questions earlier in your study. You have to restate them. Not as you did earlier, but perhaps you will just give an explanation of those research questions. Look at the examples here. The first research question aimed to measure the impact of blended and online immersion program on the learner's verbal competency. So this is my first research question. And the second research question is the objective of the second research question is to measure the impact of blended and online immersion programs on the learner's non-verbal competency. So this is my second research question. So I have stated my research questions, and then I just go on and restate my hypo. I say that in alignment with the research questions, the following null hypothesis was formulated. If the students at tertiary level are provided online immersion for language learning, they will not perform better than students who are provided blended immersion for language learning. So look at these examples again. So the reason why you need to restate your research questions and hypo is it will help people to understand your results very easily, and it will also give you the focus. Probably you can refocus and present your results only with reference to your research questions and your hypothesis. So restate them. And thirdly, just move on and discuss the results in the order of the research questions. So you might have presented research questions in a particular order. In the study, in this particular study, the first research question aims to measure the improvement in terms of verbal fluency. And the second research questions measures the improvement in non-verbal skills. So I'm just going to mention verbal separately and non-verbal separately. And even tables, figures, everything will be separate. So I will take each research question and analyze those research questions separately. So you need to discuss the results in the order of the research questions which you have presented earlier.
what is most important in the methods section is show your data. Do not interpret your data. You may be tempted to interpret them, but you are not supposed to interpret at this section. You will do the interpretation in the discussion section. You will explain what your results mean. But as of now, you will not interpret your data, but only you will show your data. And another important thing you need to remember is do not present the entire data set. I mean the raw data, how you arrived at the scores, all those kind of test values. So that will only confuse the readers. So you're not supposed to give. If you feel that it is important information and it's also comprehensive information, then you can present it in the appendix. And in fact, some journals have special features for uploading the metadata. The editor may perhaps want to see your metadata. In that case, you may upload the metadata, but you're not supposed to mention all that in tables and figures in your main manuscript. So the important message is show your data, only the important data, and do not interpret them. But let me explain what I mean by that. See table 1. You will understand what I mean by showing the data and not interpreting. Just let's go to table 1. See table here. So to analyze my research questions, I have used a paired t-test. So this is my table. The SPSS output has various features like, the Levenes test, significance, t-tailed value, sample size, two-tailed value, mean difference. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just only explaining the important data in the table. See what I have highlighted. The t value is higher in the online group when compared to the blended group. So I'm saying the t value. I'm only interpreting what is important, t value. And I'm also interpreting only the two-tailed value here. So I'm only explaining, I'm only describing what is in the table without interpreting. So I have mentioned that these are the values, and these values show that the values are statistically significant. But at this juncture, I am not telling my readers what those values mean, what you need to imply from these variables. I haven't yet come to that point. So show your data, describe the important aspects of your data, but do not interpret it. So that's very, very important in your results section. So look at the fourth aspect. Present only the important trends. Do not explain all the values. Sometimes, we tend to repeat what is in the table and the figures. You're not supposed to do that. See table 2. You will understand what I mean by reporting only the important trends. So let us go to table 2 and show you what I mean by reporting important trends. See, my table 2 shows the mean values for two groups. It's an intervention study, blended immersion, online immersion. The pretest mean I have presented for both the groups. I have also presented the post-test mean for both the groups. I have also mentioned the number, the standard deviation, and the standard mean error. So now I shouldn't be saying all the elements of this table. Let me tell you, show you two samples. You can decide which one you think is better. See, look at my first explanation. I'm just describing what is in the table. See, the means, let me read what is highlighted. The pretest mean in the blended immersion is 14.93 and the pretest mean in the online immersion is 14.61. I have explained that. And I've also said there is only a difference of 0.4 between the groups. And I've also explained what are the means of the post-test for the blended and online immersion. So I have only presented the means, and I've also went on to explain the number of students, the SD, and the standard mean error. So in the first example, I have only presented whatever is in the table. If you do that, then this explanation is not required. People may very well read it from the table. So why should you explain that once again? So you shouldn't describe what is in the tables again, but you should only draw some important inferences and just explain the important aspects of the important variables. See how I have explained in the second example. The mean scores of the independent samples in the pretest are identical because it's only 14.9, 14.6. So I say that the mean scores are identical and there is only a difference of 0.4. So I have not repeated what is in the table and I am only inferring the important values in the table. So look at my further explanation. The mean scores indicate that the students of online immersion have performed better. And again, I'm just coming to the pretest and the post-test mean. I'm not explaining the mean here, but what I am saying is the mean difference between the pretest and post-test in blended immersion is 4.8, whereas the mean difference in online immersion is 6.7. So I am giving you some important values or the difference that are not found in the table. So only some important values and inferences are drawn here. So you need to remember that in the results section, you're not supposed to repeat all the data that are in tables and figures. And remember to explain only the important values. Do not explain all the values. And ultimately, you need to remember to compare your results. Whatever results you have mentioned, or your results similar to the previous studies, or do your results provide contrasting opinions? Maybe you can add that. So I have stated here with example, the results indicate that the students of online program performed better than blended program. So this is what the results. See, some previous studies have contrasting results that flavor blended learning. So what I am saying is I have quoted some studies here that provides contrasting results to my studies. So after doing all this and setting the context for the research section, showing my original contribution, then I'll move on to discuss what those results mean. So remember, in the results section, you have to hit the bullseye all the time. There is no room for rambling. Well, I have given you some generic guidelines, but you may change it according to your research context. I'll leave the checklist of the results section in the description box. You may find it useful when you write the results section.